The dollar in your pocket has lost 97% of its value since 1913. That means the $100 bill you're holding right now, in 1913, that was worth $3. 3. You work 40 hours a week. You sacrifice weekends. You skip vacations. All for a piece of paper that is quietly, slowly dying. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't an accident. And if you're Muslim, living in America, working hard, trying to stay halal, this isn't just a financial problem. This is a spiritual one. Because you can't build halal wealth on a system you don't understand. And right now most of us don't understand it at all. By the end of this lesson, you will never look at a dollar the same way again. Let's go back 5,000 years back. Imagine you're a farmer 5,000 years ago, Mesopotamia. You have wheat, lots of it. But you need shoes, so you find a shoemaker. You say, "I'll give you wheat for shoes." He says, "I don't need wheat, I need a goat." You don't have a goat. Deal dead. This was the world before money. Economists call it the double coincidence of wants. Both people had to need exactly what the other had, at exactly the same time. It almost never worked. But here's where most people get it wrong. Barter didn't fail because people were stupid. Barter failed because it couldn't scale. A village of 20 people, maybe. A city of 20,000, impossible. Stop. Think about that. Every civilization that grew beyond a village had to invent money, not because they wanted to, because they had no choice. The Sumerians used grain. The Egyptians used copper rings. Ancient China used shells. Every culture, independently, across every continent, arrived at the same conclusion. We need something everyone agrees has value. That word, agrees, is the most important word in the history of money. Not worth, not real, not backed. Agrees. Money was never about gold or silver or paper. Money was always, and only, about trust. Now this is where it gets interesting. Because when humans figured out trust could be stored in an object, everything changed. And the first object they chose was something Islam would later call a blessing. Around 600 BC, the Lydians did something nobody had done before. They minted the first coin. Gold and silver, stamped with the king's face, same weight, same purity, every single time. And suddenly, trust became portable. You didn't need to know the farmer. You didn't need to know the shoemaker. You just needed the coin. The king's face said, "I guarantee this." Trade exploded. Cities grew. Empires rose. For over 1,000 years, gold and silver coins ruled the world. And notice something. Islam was born into this system. The Prophet, peace be upon him, used the gold dinar and silver dirham. Honest weight, honest measure, no tricks. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Carrying gold across a desert is dangerous, heavy, slow. So in 7th century China, merchants started leaving their gold with trusted warehouses. And the warehouse gave them a receipt, a paper receipt. That receipt could be traded instead of the gold. Most YouTube channels won't tell you this. The paper dollar in your wallet today is a direct descendant of that Chinese warehouse receipt. Think about that for a second. You're not carrying value, you're carrying a promise. But here's the question that changed everything. What happens when the warehouse prints more receipts than it has gold? Stop. Think about that. That question, right there, is where 5,000 years of monetary history takes a dark turn. And it happened in a small town in America in 1913. December the 23rd, 1913. Most Americans were home, celebrating Christmas, not watching Congress. That day, while the country slept, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law. And the dollar was never the same again. Here's what actually happened. Before 1913, every dollar was backed by gold. You could walk into any bank in America and say, "Give me my gold," and they had to give it to you. Your dollar was a receipt. Real gold was waiting behind it. But the Federal Reserve changed the rules. Now this is where it gets interesting. A small group of private bankers, not the government, private bankers, gained the power to create money, not by mining gold, not by earning it, by printing it. And in 1971, President Nixon made it official. The dollar was completely cut from gold, forever. This is called the fiat system. Fiat, Latin for, let it be done. In other words, money exists because someone powerful said so. Not because of gold, not because of silver, not because of anything real. Because of a declaration. And this is the part nobody talks about. When new dollars are printed, your existing dollars become worth less, quietly, invisibly, every single year. That farmer who worked 40 hours this week, his savings are melting, not dramatically, not obviously. Slowly, like ice in a warm room. And here's what this means for you, as a Muslim in America. Remember what I said at the very beginning. This isn't just a financial problem. This next part changed everything. Islam figured this out 1,400 years ago. And the answer is so simple it's almost uncomfortable. Money is not wealth. Read that again. Money is not wealth. In Islamic finance, money is a tool, like a hammer. A hammer has no value sitting in a drawer. Value only appears when you use it to build something real. Gold, silver, land, crops, trade. These are real. These have intrinsic value, something you can touch, something that exists whether or not a government agrees. But a paper dollar, a number on a screen, that is a promise, nothing more. And here's where most people get it wrong. Islam doesn't say money is evil. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was a merchant. The Quran mentions trade and commerce more than it mentions prayer. But Islam says, money must move, money must create, money must be attached to something real. Hoarding cash while inflation eats it, that's not caution, that's loss. Putting money in an interest-bearing account and watching it grow through riba, that's not halal wealth, that's spiritual debt. And this is the part nobody talks about. The halal wealth system isn't a restriction, it's actually the most financially intelligent system ever designed. No speculation, no exploitation, no fake money built on fake promises. Real assets, real trade, real growth. And by the end of this course, 180 lessons from now, you will have a complete roadmap built on this foundation. But here's what nobody tells you about this foundation, and it changes everything. Because knowing what money is only half the battle. The other half, knowing what money does to your mind. So let's bring it back. 5,000 years ago, a farmer couldn't trade wheat for shoes. That frustration built the entire global financial system. Barter became coins. Coins became receipts. Receipts became paper. Paper became digital numbers on a screen. And somewhere in that journey, we forgot what money actually is. A tool, not a god, not a guarantee, not wealth itself. Just a tool. And as a Muslim in America, you now have something most people don't. A framework, an ancient, tested, unbreakable framework for building real wealth on real foundations. That's what this course is. 180 lessons, one complete system, starting from zero. Which one are you starting with? Comment below. Subscribe for more halal wealth strategies, educational purposes only, not financial advice.